Hear what the Lord is doing on this side of the page. He's calling the church into a brand new place. He is looking at the church for dominion. Dominion. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Where's it at? E minor. Gonna be grand, 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 grand. Yeah, on this side, on this side, on this side of the page. Come on, shout it out. Tell your neighbor, say, on this side of the page, things are gonna look different. Yeah, on this side of the page, things are gonna be grand, 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 grand. Come on, tell them now. On this side of the page, things are gonna look different. On this side of the page, things are gonna look grand, 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 grand. Come on, this side of the page. Come on, this side of the page. Tell your neighbor, this side of the page. Come on, this side of the page. This side of the page. This side of the page. On this side of the page, things are gonna be grand. On this side. Come on, on this side. Come on, take your hand, do it just like that. On this side. It's gonna be grand. Make us a grand sound, Gino. Come on, we're about to stop this here tonight. Come on, I dare you say on this side. Things are gonna be different. Come on.
On this side of the page, things are gonna be grand.
And good morning. It's October 21. Happy Tuesday, October 21, 2025. Welcome to ElijahStreams. We are in year 28 of bringing you the voice of the prophets. And we're going to bring in Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes for an episode of Prophets and Patriots. But before they do that, we're going to have Andrew Sorchini on gold here just for a few minutes. A quick announcement that beyond that is that David Herzog will be with us from Israel tomorrow at 11 o'clock Pacific. So don't miss that. And then a reminder that Robin Bullock and myself are doing this Israel tour together. We'll put that at the end of the show. There you go. There's that thing, and there's the link to not subscribe, but to register. Israel 26. It's ElijahStreams.com/Israel 26. But that's filling up fast, so don't miss out on that. Peace is breaking out in the Middle East, and all the Arab countries are in agreement on this whole thing with Trump. So don't miss your opportunity to come at a peaceful time. So, all right, we're going to bring in Andrew Sorchini. So without any further announcements, here's Andrew.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Going there. How you doing there, Andrew? Let me adjust this here. We kind of got a match. Good to see you. So we're going to talk about gold. I've got this one video to run, but I don't know when we should run it first or later. When should we run this piece?
I think we can go ahead and run it now.
Okay, so I'll set this up real quick. Johnny gave a word about when silver hit 50. This is like 3 months ago. And then the last time he was on, he added a couple more facts. He said, I've got an update for it. So we edited that tight together. And I can do this because it's my show. So I asked you if I could run this. You don't tend to run ads or video that predicts big numbers because you're selling, you don't want to be manipulating the people. But I can just show you what the prophetic voices are saying. So with that in mind, and then you can comment on it afterwards and set us straight. But a quick note that Johnny never says when these things will be. He just says that they will be sometime in the future. So with that in mind, let's go run those clips. Here we go with that.
A few weeks ago that when silver hits 50, I'm going to say it again. When silver hits 50, not if, but when it hits 50, it's a marker that we are in a special jubilee. It's a marker that breaks the back of the manipulators. It's a restraint broken. They're going to try to manipulate it down.
Yeah.
Doing short stuff and all that, but there is a whole freedom, a bigger freedom coming. That's whatever anybody wants to call it. It went far back enough when it was only 28. There was no way to conjecture in a rational way that this is going to hit 50, and that wasn't that long ago. We're just talking weeks later. It has hit 50, and the Lord was speaking into it some more to me today. I will tell the numbers that I've seen. I don't know what the time of it.
Yeah.
I've watched, it just says I'm praying. I saw 444. And then I saw 500. And then I saw 888. And then I saw 1200. You go, what do these numbers mean? I'm telling you, that's what silver will be valued at in dollars.
Yay.
At 444 and then it'll be 500, and then 888 and 1200. And then the Lord spoke to me, not audibly, but the way he speaks to me, and says, right now, the true value of silver is $2,000 an ounce. The two cars in front of me, the one on the right is a Silverado pickup, but it's Silverado. And then the car to the left, also silver.
Oh, what do you know?
Infinity.
Look at that.
And so Silverado, okay, people get the silver connection. Pick up. Silver is going to pick up.
Oh, nice.
To infinity.
Wow. So a reminder that he's not saying when this will happen. He's not saying if it's a month from now, a year from now, or whatever. It wouldn't shock me if that was now. You're the professional. You're selling this. You can't be predicting that sort of thing. What would you comment on that before we get into these other things?
Well, so much to comment about it. First of all, he is correct. Johnny is correct in talking about $28 silver not that long ago. Specifically, silver closed on we entered January of 2025 with silver being at $28.84
Wow.
per ounce. And just last week, silver was $54 an ounce. So we knew that silver was going to have trouble breaking 50 and staying above 50. With that being said, we're sitting at like $48 and change for an ounce of silver, closer to $49, which is really on the mark with what Johnny has said.
It's been over 50 for probably the whole last week, and then overnight it dipped a little bit.
Yeah, right? And this is manipulation. This is exactly what Johnny talked about with the short sellers, and this is the message that I want to help carry to the people out there in understanding that you have somebody that has me looking at it from a logical standpoint, and then you have Johnny looking at it from a prophetic standpoint, and together both of these converge. I think it's very, very powerful, and I think it's very believable to anticipate that silver is undervalued and that it is priced at nowhere near what its true value is. For me, I'm looking at it a little bit more conservative. I think silver should be anywhere from where it's at now on up to $100 an ounce. And I think that the road to there, Steve, is very easy to get to. I mean, we're just $54 last week. And the reason why it's come down so sharply, and gold too, is that the big banks out there cannot see precious metals break out and realize their true value. With gold,
they are intentionally manipulating. And Andrew, I saw a guy, I won't say his name because he's a conservative, and I don't want to give him a black eye, but I was watching him on Fox News, and he goes, this was yesterday, we don't need gold. People don't need to be buying gold right now. And Trump wants to be the dollar thing. And this was his own thing. I'm not saying he was doing this on behalf of Trump at all, but he just said, I don't know why people need to forget about gold and invest in the stock market. And I thought, what is he doing? And that's the day, then overnight it dipped. Everything dipped. And this guy's a very influential guy. I mean, manipulation, right?
Absolutely. And it is manipulated. Silver has always been manipulated. And it looked like for a moment there that we did break out of that, and we've managed to start to realize the true value of silver. But like Johnny said, and like I always say, we're hitting some resistance, but that's just part of the game. This is a long game. This isn't us trying to see $100 silver by Tuesday of next week. This isn't anything like that. Yeah. This is just some buying and holding for as long as you possibly can. And don't focus too much at what level you're getting in at, or if you buy it yesterday and it's down, $3.80.
Yeah, exactly today, right.
That shouldn't worry you at all, because you know where this is headed, and it's headed significantly higher than where it's at. And that's a message that I want.
Yeah, when you were on here last time, I said I spent my wad on silver because I have silver and gold. Most of my savings is in metals. I practice what I preach. But I figured out a way to get some more. I bought some more from you. And so I'm such a believer in it. I just bought a bunch more. I figured out a way to get some more cash. I'm not borrowing money or anything, but I wouldn't do that to get silver. But I did point out on one of the shows that when we went to Egypt, I found out this last April, I found out that in the days of the pharaohs, which is, that the pharaohs were in Egypt, silver in those days was more valuable than gold, they say.
Yeah.
And so that now they're calling silver an essential mineral. Is that the word? Metal, essential metal. where they're not saying gold is an essential metal, it's a store of value, but they're saying silver is essential because they need it for military and solar and all of that. So
Yeah,
and they're burning it up basically through the solar, right? They kind of destroy it almost.
they are, because like here's just one example. If solar panels obviously are a great way to generate electricity, and right now with AI really kind of taking off the way that it has, most of these supercomputers that make AI possible, they're running on these batteries, and the batteries have become very expensive. So they're looking for alternate ways for these data centers to be able to exist. They're now moving to solar panels, and with the solar panels, they use silver as a conduit, and the pieces of silver that are deeply intertwined into the folds of metal, they're impossible at $50 silver to be recycled.
Recycle, right? Yeah.
They say
There
that
were-
we'd have to be at $250 an ounce, Steve, to be able to recycle that silver. And
Yeah,
I've heard-
because there would be people that would then go full time into recycling if it was worth it. But with that money, I read a book way back in the 70s about a guy that was recycling silver. He made a bunch of money doing it, but that was in the 70s when when it was probably worth it. He was recycling it from photochemicals. The fixtures and all that has silver in it.
yeah.
And so he was making a wad of money. He was a Christian guy. So what else do we have on your list there? You've got some questions. I don't know which ones you've answered so far. I've got one about buying today's dip. What were you going to say about that?
Yeah, I wanted that to be the next thing we talked about, is that buying the dip is the greatest thing that you could really do if you ever want to double down on an investment that you've ever made. So for example, I believe in the gold and silver that I have. I'm not going to sell it, because if I sell it, what am I going to sell it for? For dollars? Well, dollars to me are
fiat. They're worthless, right?
Yeah. So unless you have a need where you're going to buy like a home, or if you're struggling and you need it to keep the lights on or put some food on the table, I'm not going to sell my gold and silver for paper dollars. There's no way, not for a fiat currency. So if you have the means to do so, like with the example that you gave of what you did, Steve, this is when you double down. This is when you buy the dip. Okay. If you truly believe that you're doing the right thing, then scrape together something that you can and buy some more silver, or I should say, invest in some more silver.
Yeah.
We're converting one form of currency, which is a fiat currency, into what's always been God's money, which is the world's true currency, which is both gold and silver, which is referenced many, many, many times in the Bible. And the US dollar isn't mentioned once.
Well, and keep in mind, let's say we just use round numbers, $50 for let's say if you had a piece of silver and it happened to be worth that much. There's different kinds of silver to get it, but I mean, let's say if you had an ounce of silver in some form, that's $50. But if Johnny is hearing from the Lord correctly, and I know you're a believer yourself, you just can't go there prophetically as a professional salesperson. But at 400 or 800, you realize the multiplier. 800, it would be a 16 times multiplier. Your $50 you just multiply times 16. The same piece of silver would be worth 16 times that in I believe in the next year or two. That's just my belief. But if it's not, if it's 5 years, it's still worth it. But the dip, people that they're not invested, the dip means you feel like the silver gets bottomed out and it starts back up. That's a dip, and it starts back up. How would you describe it? Anything different? And then you buy it real quick in the dip place because now it's heading back up. How would you say it differently than that?
The only thing that I would add to that, Steve, is that today, okay, I mean, gold and silver have been on an amazing run, but today silver is down $3.81 per ounce, and gold is down $241 per ounce.
Wow.
And this is the greatest drop that gold and silver have ever seen in a single day. And the reason for it is mostly just profit taking. So what happens is that people that have done well have taken profits. Nothing wrong with that. There's no such thing as a bad winning trade or a bad profit. So, but other people that don't know what's going on, they go, "Oh no, I'm scared. I'm going to hurry up and sell mine. I'm going to try to move into the next thing." Well, no, there's no need to move into the next thing unless you truly have another use or an emergency for those funds, because gold and silver is still the greatest place to be right now, and possibly some cryptocurrency too. But like gold started the year at $2,624 an ounce. And it hit last night, it matched the all-time high 2 different times at $4,379 an ounce. So it's no coincidence.
Is it 43 or is it? I keep getting the numbers mixed up. Is it hit the 4 or is it 3 something?
43.79.
43. Okay, yeah. That's a huge markup. So when it drops like that suddenly, it's heading back up, right? Yeah. It's a sudden drop. You go, oh my goodness, I didn't know this would drop, and it's good news. It's good news because it's going right back up. Everybody knows it's going back up. So it's the safest time to buy that dip right there.
Absolutely. Even if it was down another day, it wouldn't make me hesitate about getting more. And I've done exactly that. So part of the way here at Beverly Hills Precious Metals that we're able to give people a good price on the metals is that I speculate on the price of it going up whenever I see a good opportunity. So then I'll have a lot of extra silver. And then once it does move up, then I've made a little bit there, and I can give people a little bit better deal.
So you're talking about the company that you're at. Yeah. There's a little bit of speculation there on your part going there. So
yes.
And okay. And can you just talk in generalities about is it getting trickier to get the silver, or talk about that for a minute.
Okay, so for example, we talk about silver eagles on this show a lot because the silver eagles are probably the most popular silver item out there. Okay. And it's a beautiful coin. They've been making them every year since 1986. And everybody loves these monster boxes, these big green boxes that weigh about 40 pounds each. Well, right now, getting monster boxes of silver eagles is very difficult. See, the U.S. Mint isn't making more this year because now they're preparing the dies, which is the process of how they make the 2026 silver eagle for next year. And this comes together at a time when gold and silver had been reaching new all-time highs almost every single day. So the U.S. Mint will run out of silver eagles before the end of the year. And that's going to spread panic into the physical silver market, because then people are going to say, okay, I can't get silver eagles anymore. Then I want to buy junk silver, or I can't get junk silver anymore. Get me 100-ounce silver bars.
And junk silver, for lack of, for people that don't know what that is, I have a couple of bags of junk silver myself that I got, and it's like this big cloth bag. It wasn't from you. It was years ago I got it. And it's like all of the 60s in 1960s or earlier that has 90% silver. It's not junk. They use the term junk, but it's the kind, if you found it, you go, oh my gosh, this was the one with silver in it, and you grab it. But this is a bag full of those, right?
Yes. And they're so popular, Steve. It's they called it junk silver because back from about 1971, I would say all through the 70s, everybody knew that the silver coins were worth just a little bit more than like if it was a dime, it has more than 10 cents worth of silver. But you couldn't melt it down to gain that extra value, because the cost of melting it down would actually put you in the negative. So what you did is you separated the silver coins and you put them in a bucket, or people used to have those old Sparklets water big jugs and
coins,
and they called it junk silver. Right now they're doing the same thing with copper, because anything older than 1982 has.
I used to collect that too, but I have one quick question. It's like this is before I ever knew you. It was like 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. I bought this big round thing of silver. It's probably bigger in my mind. It's somewhere in my possessions here. It was like this thick. I don't know. I'm probably exaggerating it, but it had to be something like a pound or two. Do people ever buy that kind of thing?
They do. With that, I'm just going to guess that it's something from the Franklin Mint. And there's probably a lot of people that are listening right now that are saying, hey, I've got stuff from the Franklin Mint. And it's just, you would put it on like channel 28 here in California.
Oh, yeah.
56. And they sell these coins, and they were a little bit overpriced, but the presentation was great because they come in a nice box and it comes with a certificate of authenticity, and people just have that stuff sitting around everywhere. And even though they probably paid too much for it back in the 70s and 80s, they're worth a whole lot more now if they have silver in them than they were then. So it's still worth having. Back then, we used to joke that they use those, Steve, like the one you mentioned, for a doorstop. Use it as a doorstop.
But I mean, in a desperation, they can take that and sell it, and they melt it back down or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that, but yeah, it was fun to have it. I was like a kind of on a whim. But it would make a nice decorating piece, But
Yeah.
I guess we better get out of here. Anything else you want to say about people can move over their IRAs and that sort of thing, or what?
Yeah, it's more of reflecting on what's happened here. We've been working together now for what feels like a couple of years, Steve, and just spreading the word of how precious metals can help people. It doesn't usually work this way, but for people that got involved with gold and silver that watch ElijahStreams, if you got involved last year, or I would say mid-year or even before that, you've done very well.
You've done very well.
You've
very well.
Silver.
Yeah. By the way, in case we haven't pointed it out, but it's right here, ElijahStreams.com/gold. That's just a form that you can fill out, goes straight to you guys. I don't even look at it. It just goes straight to you. And that way, if somebody fills that in, they know that they saw it here. And then they write in that little form what they're kind of looking for, like an IRA rollover, or they just want some junk silver, or they just want to talk to somebody about silver and have more questions, right? Anything else you want to tell people on that?
Well, I think you said it perfectly. I would like to say that we've helped so many people with their retirement accounts by converting them into gold and silver. If you think about it, that most of your retirement accounts are already invested in things like stocks or possibly annuities. Gold and silver are doing so good right now with really no end in sight. You should reach out to us, fill out that little section there and say, I want to explore the option of how it would work for me to roll over my 401k or my IRA and have it not be a taxable event. It's not a difficult process. We take care of all the legwork for you, and at least investigate it. We're not going to try to push you into doing it today. If you're not comfortable, then you don't need to, but at least gain the information so that when you are ready, you know where to go.
Yeah. And if you don't use this form or whatever, and you end up talking to these guys, just remember to tell them we saw it on ElijahStreams, because that helps them know where they're being effective in getting the word out. So that'd be great. So, all right, Andrew, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's always fun to talk about gold and silver. I love the subject, as you can tell. So have a great day, Andrew, and we'll see you all later. So with that in mind, let's bring in Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes. So here's Dr. Jan.
Eric called me and said, hey, what are your top 5 favorite Christian broadcasts? He asked, and I said, you got to get on ElijahStreams. You got to do it. Steve's great. You got to get on his show.
Dr. Jan, sorry, we went a little long on that. I didn't mean to go quite that long, but it's good to have you back. It's been a while.
It has. It's good to be back with you, Steve.
I think I commented on the pre-show. Last time I saw you, your hair was different, but it looks really nice. I really like it. So let's see. Where do we want to jump in? I've got a notes full. Did you want to? Where do you want? Did you just want to jump in? Or?
I think what I want people to understand is that I'm going to hit certain points, and what motivated me to construct it this way is that I hear with great frequency, why is it taking so long? Why aren't certain things happening? And that is an impatience, and it's an expectation in people's minds. But what I want to be able to do is to take some current events, which include Trump's phenomenal success with the Middle East peace process. I want to weave in a bit about game theory so that you understand. If you understand game theory, you will be able to connect the dots. You will be able to understand the moves that are going on. And then we're going to wrap up with just a couple of videos on PEDS. Not that I'm going to explain PEDS, but I am going to show you how clueless people are, so that you can begin to recognize when you're listening to certain people how not to take that as the gospel. Yeah,
and I'm really looking forward to covering that about what were we just talking about? Okay, well we're gonna hit it again, but I was going to talk about Pete, but the thing you said before that, and all of a sudden I can't remember what that was.
Game
But
theory.
yeah,
Game theory
and because
subversion.
I've heard it over and over and over, and I'm not a gamer, and I don't watch gamer movies, but it's kind of it's got metaphorical to that. It's not.
No, it's
Okay.
not. And so it's really good that you brought that up, because when we hear the word game, we think it's like Clue or tennis or
Yeah.
chess. No. What game theory is it started out as a mathematical model. And it is when any situation has two players, but it can also be a situation with multiple players. So what people have thought, because we've talked white hats, black hats, and this is why people are feeling impatient, is that that's the wrong model, because you are thinking in terms of win and lose.
Yeah, I would
That
be.
is not the game that is being played. And that is not how the military and Trump are thinking things through. What it is that there are multiple players, there are multiple outcomes, and we will not be able to get rid of the evil. But what we can do is outsmart the evil. And that is part of what the desire is. And if you are not expecting a win-lose, don't get stuck in the black hats are losing or the.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing right there, because I always thought this was a win-lose thing we're playing, but you're saying there's so much evil on the earth, you can't exactly wipe every evil person off the earth. So you have to win over them and make them irrelevant, I suppose.
I didn't read anything in the book of Revelation where God killed Satan.
Yeah, not right there. I mean, at the end, he throws him in the lake of fire, but I mean, other than that, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you have to think about things as a strategic. So when you talk about players, they often think of it as a unit or many units that's in there. But why do they use game theory?
Yeah.
Because what it is it is a strategic way of thinking. It is a strategic way of being able to take the irrational or the improbable and use reasoning to be able to anticipate what certain outcomes can be. So, to put it in very everyday terms, the first thing I really want people to do is I want them to see the documentary, The Human Factor.
The Human Factor, okay.
The Human Factor. And the reason that I am saying this is that this was back, I hope I get my years right, but back around 1990, when Yitzhak Rabin and Arafat were trying to create a Palestinian state. It takes you through the diplomatic process that went on, and it shows you, in fact, my neighbor in Virginia, his father was a videographer and photographer for Clinton. So everything that you are seeing in this documentary was recorded. It was live. It was very factual. You've got King Hussein, who turns to Netanyahu in the White House at a dinner that Clinton is at the table and tells Netanyahu that he's basically full of it. He's not even qualified to be leading Israel. And this is back then. When other people have seen it, I have had to say, reserve judgment on Clinton, because when you watch this, you will have respect for how he handled things. But why did it end up failing? So now here I'm going to bring in a little bit of game theory, because part of game theory is that it could be as simple as you're sharing food. He who cuts, the other person chooses.
Yeah.
I mean, or it could be successive, or it could be simultaneous. So what was going on as it got closer and closer to success, and Clinton was doing a fabulous job, how did they sabotage him? Monica Lewinsky situation came out. That weakened him. Then it's
Dr.
still,
Jan, are you saying that Monica Lewinsky was an intentional sabotage
yeah.
as opposed to someone getting in trouble? You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is the timing, because timing is always a factor in game theory. They knew that was going on. They knew Monica Lewinsky. Why did they choose at that moment to expose it? Because it was getting very, very close. And you will see in the human factor how close it was to peace. And then I think it was the night before, there was one more thing to be worked out. And the argument was, could the Palestinians have a police station at the bridge? And Rabin said, what does Arafat want? And Arafat said, well, what does Rabin want? And you will see how they came together, because when they first started talking to one another, Rabin did not want Arafat to show up in his military garb. Who else has shown up in their military garb? Yeah. But he got over that. And eventually they came together, and you see that they had this incredible relationship, a mutual understanding. And what happened the next day? Rabin was assassinated. So then, yes, Rabin was assassinated.
What year was that, Jan? What year? Maybe around 2000
1992.
Okay, way back then.
About that.
Okay.
I'm not completely on top of that.
Sure, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I was trying to place this in my head.
Rabin was assassinated. So then what happens is Ehud Barak takes over. Ehud Barak, then you will see how egos play, and they don't listen to the diplomats. Behind the scenes of the diplomats, also what was going on was in International Monetary Fund. That was part of the game to be able to fund the Palestinian state. But then these guys play with the money. What you also need to do is you need to watch Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes with her interview from the other night with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
Really?
So the reason I'm bringing both of those up is when you see the human factor and you see the way the diplomats had to go back and forth and who was calling what, and they will go to see Assad and Assad wouldn't give in on this. And what Trump, what Witkoff, what Kushner did is they cut out all those players. They went right to the decision makers, and instead of promising finance or anything, the first question was, what do you need to make this work? They cut out all of the cabal, the deep state, all of those players.
Really?
Yes. So part of game theory is sometimes you do something the other side doesn't anticipate. And that is exactly what they did. And one of the main reasons this was so successful. But also, Trump brought in all those Arab nations. You know, he was inclusive. Yeah. And what he did was a win-win, not a win-lose. And a lot of times, even in diplomatic negotiations, it's a win-lose. Okay, well, we want this. What are you going to give up? So the part of the game theory is to anticipate how people will react. But it's also to have a strategy about how you can get them to make certain decisions that they focus on what would the payoffs for them be. So
That's
let me
good.
just go back to the basic of two kids, and the mom says, okay, you cut the cake and your younger brother
Yeah,
gets
we always
to
had it
pick
that
the
way in our
piece.
family. Whoever
Right.
cut didn't get
And
to choose.
so in game theory, it's the older brother has to decide, am I going to make this even, or am I going to make it uneven? But I'm not the one that's choosing now. My younger brother is choosing, and he'll pick the bigger one if I don't make it even.
Yeah.
So it's even as simple as that, but that is what builds when you're thinking about game theory. Now, in the same way of destroying our culture, and before the show, we were talking about how they tried to destabilize our countries, that I don't believe that we just have division. This is intentional divisiveness and destabilization and destruction. So when we think about that, political correctness, and then micro expressions and how they kept building on that. What was the ultimate objective of doing that? It was to put an emotional and psychological straitjacket on our mouths and our brains. Because if you became too afraid to say something,
Yeah, which we
you
were.
would get canceled. But it wasn't just cancel culture, masculine toxicity, the Me Too movement. If you think that was to help women, no, it was not. It was to say, oh, these poor victims. And then what did they do? I mean, think about Garrison Keillor.
But you're saying, Dr. Jan, those were all planned not to give the women's their voice back, but to go deeper, causing division. Are you saying it was an all
What I'm saying is,
manipulated?
in part of game theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I complain because someone was sexist with me or came on to me or whatever. Where does it go from there other than they punish the man?
Yeah.
So what does it do? It weakens men that much more to make them afraid to even own their masculinity. I mean, they are men. Masculinity is, you know, there's testosterone there, you know, it's biological. But then why have they tried to convince us that things are not biological? Once again, to create an identity crisis, to bring our culture to a crisis part, to make people be confused. So when we look at these things, you can find a video when Elizabeth Warren was still a professor, and she explains, as if she is a conservative, as to why they pushed women into the workplace. Why was it that a mother could stay at home and raise the children, and a father could go out and work? You could get a house, you could have 2 cars, you could put food on the table, you could pay for education. Why then, when you have 2 incomes, did it suddenly make it worse? And Elizabeth Warren explained this well before she ever became a politician. Really? And she laid out how that was the strategy to destabilize the family. So if we look at each of those markers, that is the negative part of game theory. Now, we'll go to the lockdown. What did they want? They wanted us to turn into serfs. They wanted everyone to go bankrupt. They wanted to introduce universal income so that we would be dependent, and it backfired. It backfired big time. And that was the first part of their game theory being so weakened, and it put us in a much, much better position. Now, the Democrats, they are losing registered voters. You go across the country and you look at how voter registration with Democrats is down, with Republicans it's up. They cannot get out of let's hate Donald Trump, let's be negative. And I don't think they could find their way out of a paper bag.
No, they can't.
They are not being strategic. They are victims of the puppet masters who want them to create the division, the destabilization, the confusion, the transgender, bringing all of that in. They are the puppets for that side to destroy our culture. But now we have Trump, law and order. We have the importance of traditional values. They have been trying to destroy it. You go back to the 60s and you get the me generation. The me generation basically meant me, the world revolves around me, and I'm just going to complain about you. So when you make people self-centered, Maurice Strong, a Canadian guy who actually did work with NATO, created the climate crisis concept.
Really?
And the purpose behind it was that, one, let's destroy any spiritual or religious desires or beliefs in people. Let's make it unacceptable. But we also know that the younger people coming, they need to feel like they do care, because we all have hearts. So what did they do? The climate crisis, you've got to care about everyone. That is basically their religious doctrine.
Well, and your point, I guess, is that over time, they sold the left on that so that the kids really believed it, right? They totally, 100%, and a lot of them still do. And I mean, there are people like us or like me that goes, why would you ever believe that? But I mean, I still don't know how they accomplished that, except just beating it to death over and over and over until the kids believed it.
You had Al Gore. Al Gore, you know, the planet is going to be gone in 20, 30 years. I mean, and he did all the videos and the documentaries on it and everything else. And all you have to do is have an ounce of factual truth, and then put the lies around it to then make people believe something. Plus, our educational system did it, because these people don't think for themselves. So also part of game theory, it's what is going on with the quantum system coming in. It is, and again, why is it taking so long? Excuse me, is Trump creating peace around the globe?
Yes, he is.
Has he been bringing countries together?
Yeah.
Has he been working on this for 10 years or more to make sure that it's not only the U.S. that goes back to the gold standard? So the reason I'm throwing all these things out is that they really are connected. You can draw strings between them, and there are different movements that happen that help influence the outcome, but it's always because they are strategic and anticipatory. And then what you have is you can anticipate, you can be strategic, you can think that this X rational action will happen, and it doesn't, but you have to be prepared. And it's called the just in case strategy. So this, we're going to do A. If A doesn't work, or if A brings this response out, then we have to do B. So I want you to understand, and if you see the human factor and you listen to the Leslie Stahl interview, you will understand about how leaders' egos get in the way, how the diplomats play, but also how different Trump played, which outsmarted them.
Was the Leslie Stahl one about Was the
Let
Leslie
me
Stahl
just-
one about Hamas and all that? Was that what that was
Yeah,
about?
it was about the peace process. It was just
Okay,
on
yeah,
Sunday.
just wanted to know what the
Yes.
subject on that was. Okay.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
And I was going to make a point, and I can't remember the point I was going to
Oh,
make.
sorry.
And I thought it was just such a good point.
Oh, so sorry.
That's all right.
She said, Angie's saying that you were going to give another example of
I know,
something.
and it's gone completely out
man.
of my head. Players, countries.
That happens to me too much too. It already happened today. Oh man.
Okay.
Maybe it'll
So
pop back in.
how about if we now bring peds in? We have 3 cuts, and the first cut is in August. Actually, I believe it was August 16th, my birthday in 2020.
Okay.
Ted Koppel did a segment for the Sunday CBS morning show on peds because Trump had made a comment that he is able to do far more than anyone realizes. So if we could go to that first cut with Gary Hart.
Okay, Gary Hart. All right, here we go with that.
Even though I've had security clearances for the better part of 50 years and been in and out of national security matters during that half century, I had never heard of these secret powers.
Do you know what they are now that you've heard of them?
Only vaguely, due to research done at the Brennan Center for Justice at New York University Law School. What these secret powers are, apparently, based on the research, is suspension of the Constitution, basically. And that's what's worrying, particularly on the eve of a national election.
Yeah. He used to be, he ran for president, in case anybody doesn't remember that. So, yeah.
All right. So that is pure stupidity. He says, 50 years I have had clearance. I didn't know about it till the Brennan Research Institute or whatever it's called. You know what? How many of our other politicians are unaware of it? And it's perfectly okay.
Are you saying for sure he was? Was he unaware, or is he just saying?
Sorry.
Is he just claiming to be unaware, or was he really unaware?
No, he really was unaware.
Okay.
Clueless. And that's fine that he's clueless. I'm curious, with all that has come out since Biden took, the presidency or the fake presidency, but how many of our other politicians are aware of that? What we do know is the FBI went into Mar-a-Lago because at least Nancy and Chuck Schumer are aware of peds, and they were hoping that the peds were in the safe and that they could have gotten the Presidential Emergency Act documents. So now, can we go to the next one of the woman who works at the Brennan Center?
Okay, here we go.
Several times during his administration, President Trump has made allusions to secret powers that he has that we don't know about. Is he making that up?
Well, not exactly. And what's alarming about that is that no one really knows what the limits of those claimed authorities might be, because they are often developed and kept in secret.
Goitin says what little we do know about PIADs comes from references to them in other documents, some of which are now declassified.
They originated in the Eisenhower administration as part of an effort to try to plan for a potential Soviet nuclear attack. But since then, they've expanded to address other types of emergencies as well. No presidential emergency action document has ever been released or even leaked. Not even Congress has access to them.
Wow.
Well, Congress shouldn't have access to them. They are created by the military, a small group of people that are non-military are read into it.
Okay.
But here she is at the Brennan Center. She talks about the fact that it was declassified and they knew that there was a Soviet nuclear potential problem. Why, even for these supposed learned researchers and professors, did they not then investigate how they got created, who created them, why did they exist? But even if you don't ask those questions, it's so obvious it had to do about national security and if our national security was at risk.
Yeah.
Now we have one more, and it's John Woo. If you could play that.
Okay, here we go.
John Yoo is a law professor at the University of California, Berkeley. While serving at the Justice Department after 9/11, he drafted the memo that justified the use of enhanced interrogation of terrorism suspects. Just to reassure our viewers a little bit, John, you've seen these PADs?
I am not allowed to say whether I have or not.
Let me put it this way. You were at the Justice Department. Presumably, the Justice Department would have had to deal with these PADs if a president wanted to implement one.
Yes, that's a fair way to say. The Justice Department and the office I worked in would review the legality of the PADs because they would draw on presidential powers and congressional powers delegated to them.
Just a couple of weeks ago, Professor Yoo was at the White House discussing executive power with President Trump.
Because you never know what the emergency is going to be. So these PADs and similar contingency planning documents, when we look back historically at them, sometimes they seem comic.
All right. Number one is that I don't believe a word that he said.
Really?
When he was asked, and he, I can't talk about it. That right there, you look at his facial expressions and his voice tone, and he was clueless about PEDS. When he then said, yes, of course the DOJ would be looking at it. No, they would not. Again, did Trump?
Okay, he was caught. Huh? Okay.
13848, a national emergency. The national emergency, look at his executive orders. And therefore, under a national emergency, the military supersedes. So it's really important. And when you think, and I have a lot of respect for John Yoo in other ways, and he's a very smart lawyer, but he did not handle that well, because if he couldn't talk about it, but then in his next breath, he's saying, well, of course we had to review it, you know that is BS. So I'm hoping that the things that we've discussed here, because I didn't want to make game theory too complicated.
Yeah.
And it isn't too complicated. And by showing how people reacted to the PEDS, that you take a step back, and also you see the human factor, you listen to Leslie Stahl, you will be able to contrast, and you will be able to clearly see how each side played it before, and you will get a clear picture of how game theory is in operation. And I, in my consulting, have never really enjoyed games, but I have used one tool, and it's called Red Spot, Blue Spot. You have 3 teams, there are 10 rounds, and I used it when we were doing a merger and acquisition with 90 different countries. So that meant I had many different cultures. And I will tell you that when I had the Brits and the Americans, they worked things out. When I used it over in Asia, it was a disaster. And the reason for using it was that one part of the rationale for the merger was that they would start, they basically did polling, and they did it for all of the top politicians all around the globe, as well as other bits of research, and that they wanted there to be cross-country research. That was fine with the Brits and the Americans. It was fine with the Germans and even the French. But there I am in Asia, and they're all going, no, there's no way, because they all lied and they didn't trust one another. So when we put them through this red spot, blue spot, because each team doesn't have the same amount. So if it's going to work and everyone wants to win, they are allowed to have 3 different meetings. And when they do that, all 3 teams comes out winning. When they don't, they end up, as in Asia, I couldn't even believe how bad the results were. But it also, I can put someone on a team who is known to be a rabble rouser or a saboteur, and I can predict how, even if his team is stacked to win, how that having that one person on that team will cause it to lose. So that's part of being able to understand and anticipate reactions, behaviors, and thinking about strategy. So I really hope that that has helped people so that you no longer feel impatient because things are happening.
Well, you know, the thing with the game theory and all of that, I'd never known to put that term with it all, but we got impatient. I've been among those that got impatient, and I take a 30, 40,000 foot level now. I never realized, most of us didn't, that Trump, I don't know if he had this in mind the entire time. He probably did, that he was going to solve 7 or 8 wars. Nobody saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. I just wanted to hurry up and get this over with and get a reset going and get some health beds going and win over the Democrats. And we just thought it was doing this quick and dirty solution. And now you look at it, you have a much better perspective. We all do, that Trump was not only helping us, he was helping the earth. He was solving wars. And in your understanding with Trump and the whole game theory, was he planning from way back in 2015 to end all these wars? Was that already in his mind and heart, or did that just come along and happen? Do you know?
I think if you go back to the Tim Russert interview in 1999, when Trump laid out the problems, when they were trying to recruit him to run for president, he spent $100,000 for a full-page ad in the New York Times to condemn the Republicans. You can go back to 1980 when he was with Rona Barrett, and he was asked, would you want to be president? And he basically said, well, I would definitely sacrifice for my country, but I don't think people are ready for the truth, and they will not be able to handle it. You can go to when you saw him on Oprah or David Letterman. And he outlined, maybe he used Japan at one point instead of China. But he has always been so clear on what the problems have been. It was only once when they recruited him, and then when he said in the debate with Jeb Bush, I've got 200 military behind me. It was the military that recruited him. You know, Kennedy was the starter. Trump is going to be the finisher. And this is not Trump's plan. This has been a plan going on for decades and decades to circumvent this.
And so you're saying this is the plan by the military, probably starting back when Kennedy was assassinated?
Oh, well before. Well before.
Really?
Yes, it had to be well before, because they didn't recruit Kennedy, but they brought Kennedy into it. You can't possibly just have it be conceived by a politician. It has to be conceived just as much as there are Zoom groups going on every single day about how to sabotage Trump and his administration in all these different agencies. But yes, I mean, they have seen this problem. They have understood it, and it was finding the right people. So they got Kennedy in there, and what was Kennedy going to do? And it was, let's just go back to how we lost our Constitution. 1871, the Brits lied. They gave money to the Confederates, made the Union go bankrupt, had to go, Ulysses S. Grant could have used our 14th Amendment. Instead, we were forced into the International Court. We became beholden to the cabal that controls the bankers in the City of London. Remember, the king cannot go to the City of London. He has to get permission from the Lord Mayor.
Amazing.
It is a sovereign nation since 1698, just like Washington, D.C. had been a sovereign nation, and just like the Vatican. So we have to have that historical perspective and know, even people go, well, isn't Trump unwind? Didn't he bankrupt the corporation? I've gone in to have to restructure companies that have gone bankrupt. That means there's so much that you have to undo before you can do things. And that is a lot of what is going on right now on all levels. So I spoke about game theory in terms of behavior because that's my expertise.
Yeah.
But you need to listen to other people who talk about the quantum financial system, about economics as whole, about foreign policy. And you need to be aware of how, like, you drop a pebble into a lake and it ripples out. That's basically what Woodrow Wilson did when he became president and let the British bankers really take control of our financial system so that we would never be out of debt, that we would always be beholden to them. And Trump has been continually fighting against it because he wants every nation to be a sovereign nation.
Yeah,
and
he
not
really does.
part.
He really is
Yes.
the good guy. You know, when I was, this is sort of parenthetical, but when I was born in 1955, so I'm a child of the 60s, and my denomination, Christian denomination, was not unlike all the other Christian denominations. We were freaking out because one day the Bible says that there's going to be a one world government, and we're going to try and not get caught in a one world government, or we were going to get ready to get out of here before whatever it was. It was like this horrible thought that one day there would be an attempt at a one world government, and none of us realized we were smack dab in the middle of a one world government way back then, with the cabal controlling the earth, and none of us knew it.
No.
We just thought we were lobbying for freedom and that this would not happen in our lifetime, and we were right in the middle of it. You know,
Think about George H.W. Bush when he talked about the New World Order.
Yeah.
Just go back to all of those politicians that talked about it. They were telling us that they are part of the global cabal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know the example I wanted to give. It
Okay.
just popped into my head, Steve,
Okay.
when I was talking about game theory, and I wanted to give just a basic example, which is that with this furlough, and 95% or maybe 92% of the bureaucracy has given money to the Democrat Party. Their out of office message, we are out of office due to this shutdown.
Yeah.
And here's game theory. What Russ Voigt had been doing is that it has been erasing their message, and the message that comes is due to the Democrats forcing this shutdown. And so they're getting that message across instead of it being
he sort
like
of hacked.
out
Did he
of
hack?
office message.
He sort of hacked it.
They didn't have to hack it. They're in control of the
Okay.
system. And so they are not allowing the employees to put their own out of office memo.
Wow.
They are putting that anyone that contacts any of the agencies, it's really clear that it is a Democrat caused shutdown. But that is also part of game theory.
Yeah. Do you have, Jen, any, I don't know if you can say, about rumors or what you understand or anything about how long this shutdown is going to proceed? I mean, it needs to be as long as it needs to be. If it needs to be 60 days so Trump can make some big decisions, I'm all for that. The impatient side of me would like to hurry up and get things going. But if it takes 60 days and then Trump has more power yet, let's take the 60 days. But what kind of things have you heard?
Well, Steve, why would you like it to get going?
Well, it was the old thinking that I addressed earlier, because then let's get this reset and let's get these different things that were promised to come along and new technologies. I don't have that like I used to have. There's probably a little bit of it left, but that's just because you want to get it done. That's all. But you're
all right. Look, the fact that it was only going to be for 8 weeks of this extension. If the Democrats had just voted, it would have been a continuing resolution for 8 weeks, and then the negotiations would have started. But Trump pushed them to this, and I have always said, I am all for the shutdown, because who are the essential, and why do we have anyone that's non-essential? Why do we need anyone that is non-essential?
Exactly.
And Russ Hoyt is getting rid of those people. Getting rid of those roles, getting rid of those jobs, because that is what is needed. Now, yes, you're hearing, Thune came out and said, well, the White House is entertaining the idea. Tell me, is Trump going to give in to the Democrats' request for $1 trillion? Now, here's the other part. Here's the other part about this. They were so stupid to have made that request for that money, because now that they're not giving the money to the states, what these states did was they used federal funds to provide health care for the illegals through their Medicaid of the state. Oh, guess what? Can't be done. Can't be done. So you've got to look at these moves that are happening, and they are leading us to exactly many of the end goals, or the markers, or the objective for that stage of this situation. It couldn't be better. It couldn't be better.
Yeah, and so to repeat, what I think you're saying is you are, and I'm there now, but you are almost excited that we would take the whole 60 days and then Trump takes over in a much more, because that somehow or other, that negotiation or some law, I don't really know where he gets the authority after 60 days to fire everybody that needs to be fired. Where does that come from? Is that a constitutional thing, or?
The Supreme Court, I believe, ruled in his favor to introduce to fire at will. People they're at will employees, which they hadn't been. So there's that. But also, what is he trying to do? He's trying to bring the National Guard into the different cities.
Yeah.
Do you know why? They're going into the they're going into the dumbs. They're going into the tunnels. There are tunnels out from Chicago leading to New York and across the Canadian border. They are pushing that so they can find them. So again, people are not looking at the fact that there are executive orders in place that give him the right to do these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been hearing that as well, but I didn't hear it at the beginning. I thought it was only about the crime, but the crime is getting taken care of, but this is about him getting the military in place to fight. And you said, for anyone that doesn't know, that you said they're in the dumbs, deep underground military bases, DUMB. But the military bases probably is just a catch-all word for also all the tunnels and almost freeways under there for
Yes.
trafficking, that goes for hundreds of miles at some point. I never would have thought that was even physically possible, but it's all over the earth this way, right?
Oh, it very much is. I was just
Yeah.
in Turkey, and in Cappadocia, they have underground cities that more than 20,000 people could live in,
Unbelievable.
going
That's
miles
crazy.
down. And they would have holes. That's how the water would come in. That's how the air would come in. I mean, it's incredible. But that had been going on. Here's the thing. If Trump called for martial law and sent the National Guard across the country, they would freak out because, again, game theory. They knew that they would freak out in Portland and in Chicago. And it has the courts just ruled that Trump can put the National Guard in Portland. And they were trying to pretend as everything was fine. So that's why I'm talking about these things, so that we pay attention to these things and understand it's part of the whole big picture, and they are interrelated. There are strings connecting them. It just depends on which string gets pulled at which moment that gets the next reaction.
And isn't it probably your perspective as it is mine? I'm pretty sure you would say yes, but I'll just ask. During this, he was 45, now he's 47, that he was Commander-in-Chief 46, was he not? And during that time, were they not, the military, doing all kinds of operations down underneath the earth and all of that and across the earth? What would you say about that?
I don't feel qualified to put the 46 on there.
Okay.
What we do know is Joe Biden was the illegitimate president. He was the president of the bankrupt corporation.
Right.
All right. There was a book that came out about Trump and The Apprentice and his life on TV.
Yeah.
And the author of that book had literally writes this. He couldn't understand why in the middle of an interview with Trump got up and explained. Now, Trump was not president anymore. Biden's there. Trump got up and said, "I'm sorry, I have to go deal with the Afghan situation." And he writes about this. And why would he think that? And this was when they pulled the people out of Afghanistan and left our 83 trillion.
Really?
Yes. And so that was kind of a slip up. I'm sure that Trump just said it because he had to deal with it, and he thought the guy's not going to get it, and he didn't get it. He just, in fact, criticized Trump for saying it. But that is one of the signs. Trump was never just on the golf course. He always stayed. Look, our JAG officers have been on ships off the coast of Southampton, in the Mediterranean, Japan, Australia.
Crazy.
And they have been doing tribunals.
Well, and do you say, Jan, because I actually put it on my X account this week, this probably just yesterday or the day before, a clip by Trump where he said, I don't know if this was 2 days ago or if it was a little bit older clip, when he says, I'm really 45, 46, and 47, if you want to think of it that way, something like that. He said that. It's on tape.
Yeah.
So, but the 46 would be at least commander-in-chief during that time. Would you agree with that?
He was commander-in-chief the whole time. The minute he did declared a national emergency in 2017.
Yeah, amazing.
Throughout. Trump 1.0. Yes.
Yeah.
And it is things like that that he gives us the clues.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's a great man, and I say even a man of God, because he was appointed. I mean, you saw the sign from Israel. We've probably seen the pictures of it where they've said, Cyrus the Great is alive. Have you seen that photo?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, there it is. There he is.
Oh.
Cyrus the Great is alive. This is posted all over Israel. And some of those are mock-ups, and others of that. One of those at least was an actual electronic sign. I can't tell on that one for sure.
Wow.
But Israel's posting that right after the peace was made. They started posting that, and Paul says that is a sign. That's a legit sign. So they recognize him. I mean, we've been saying for years that Trump is Cyrus the Great, not literally Cyrus the Great, but he is Cyrus the Great for our time. But here they're calling him not just Cyrus, they're using the official title that Cyrus the Great had in the Old Testament. The Great. He was called Cyrus the Great. You know?
To your point, Steve, when he was in Saudi Arabia earlier this year, they called him King of the World.
I know. Yeah,
and
I mean.
Did you see the video of them all standing in line to get a picture with Trump?
Yeah.
And Mohammed bin Salam, MBS, who had Saudi Arabia, stood in line for 30 minutes just to get his picture with
Are
Trump.
you serious?
I am absolutely serious. And then you've got them going there and shaking hands, and they don't want to let go of him.
Really?
I'll send it to you.
I said on the air the other day with Johnny, he didn't want to say this outright. He says, well, people might get upset if you say that, Steve. But I said on the air, I said, I'm just paying attention and I'm watching all these leaders. I said, to me, he's coming across as if he's president of the earth, of the world. And he goes, well, you better be careful about saying that. People get really upset. Well, I didn't say he was king, but it's kind of all the same thing. They all look to him as their leader. It was almost like, what would you like us to do, sir?
Right.
And it's all unofficial. They just acknowledge that he's become the at least the de facto leader, at least of the free world. But I mean, it didn't used to be that Saudi Arabia and all those were considered part of the free world. These were dictatorships.
Steve, when Trump, I think, first came down the escalator and then won in 2016, think back about how many people said, I think God sent him to us. I think God sent him to us. And those people were the first to see what others yet hadn't seen. We know now that he has to be blessed by God with what he's creating.
Yeah, such an anointing on him that only heaven could put on any man or woman.
Right.
A woman could have done it too if God put that anointing on her. And so in this case, it was Trump, and it's ironic about all of the even biblical scenarios that he kind of fits Cyrus the Great. And there's this thing that talks about the last Trump. There was something else I was gonna. Oh, we talked about the tunnels and everything. Do you know there's actually a scripture in the Bible, and I can't remember if it's talking about the dead in Christ or whatever, but it talks about above the earth and those on the earth and those under the earth. And if you look up in ChatGPT and put up the phrase, find the text under the earth in the Bible, it'll pop it up. I just don't have it for me. If someone wants to look that up real quick, you could do it. But that scripture is actually a biblical reference that infers about that there are settlements under the earth, and there are both legal and illegal, I guess you would say.
Yes.
So
very
it's
much
fascinating.
so.
Well, I guess we better get going, but thank you, Dr. Jan, so much. This is always stimulating and fun to listen to and talk to, and we'll have you back and give us the next thing. So do you want to talk about anything you want to say about the things you're working on, or is that kind of secret right now?
It's kind of secret right now.
Okay, so we're praying
I wish
for you.
I could, but
that's all right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Well, we'll be praying for you.
Unless I can confirm, unless I can be factual, I won't say something.
Understood.
So as soon as I can, I'll even come on for 2 minutes.
Oh, that'd be great. We would absolutely.
You be the first to be able to.
That would be awesome. Please let us know if we can do that. So,
of course.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Now, David Herzog will be with us in the morning from Israel. This ministry, meaning all of our viewers, have supported many of his crusades in Israel, which without even knowing it, that we've and some things in other, like Pakistan, and a couple of those big crusades that he's done. People don't like that word crusades because it has a negative connotation from the crusades, but they mean evangelism meetings is what they're talking about, where the gospel is shared. And so these viewers have supported that. So I don't see anybody giving that particular scripture. So you guys will look that up. Look up Under the Earth and you'll see that. So, all right, everybody. So David will be with us tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Jan, so much.
Thank you, Steve. It's always great.
Yeah, it is. So, all right, we'll see you soon. We'll see you all tomorrow at 11. Bye-bye.
Join us for an unforgettable journey to the Holy Land, the 2026 Israel Tour with ElijahStreams. Experience powerful worship with Robin Bullock and the 11th Hour Band. And be inspired by Steve and Doreen Shultz, Yvonne and Mina Attia, Mike and Lori Sally, and Michael Wilhelm. Steve Swanson will be leading us in music as we walk where Jesus walked. Worship at historic sites, and connect deeply with the land and its people. This is more than a tour. It's a spiritual encounter. Spots are limited, so register now at ElijahStreams.com/Israel26.